have to. Let's see it.
And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition here of On Deck with, of course, me, Charles Prodigy, Richey, and my partner in crime, Riis the Ruler, DJ Coleman, which you could actually follow on social media on Twitter and Instagram at ISCR3 with another bolt. On Facebook, you can also check them out too at Timo Sabi. Balling is my hobby right there. Join me as always in a nice little beach setting right now. Only fitting for this summer for right now. Got a lot of exciting stuff to get into. Excuse us right now, just figure some stuff out, but I think we're ready to go. And speaking of ready to go right now, Riis, I hate to burst the bubble, no pun intended, but for right now, I think you got to give the devil their due for right now. And I'm talking about none other than the White Sox for right now. Starting off a little sluggish, but at the same time, too, I mean, this is a team right now who seems to be getting better as the season goes along. I mean, game one of the crosstown tough rivalry as usual this series.
Turn down a little bit.
Yeah, but I think for right now, I mean, the Sox right now, they're digging that long ball. And one of the things, too, usually there's been 21 teams out of the last 115 World Series who's led the league in home runs have gone on to win the World Series. That's like about 90%. But still, I mean, usually a lot of teams who are in the top 10 really have a good legitimate stake right there. Bad outing for John Lester, only for 77 pitches right there throwing yesterday. Cubs bullpen, in their respect, despite being tripped up and showing some concerns along the way, was able to hold on to four, just only 2 earned runs, which was 2 more long balls that night, 3 hits, 5 in the third inning. So I don't think that was that bad. But for right now, this last week, the Cubs have had a shaky week. What's your concerns this week from what you've seen from the observation, Riis?
The White Sox are definitely on up. I mean, I think we didn't call them out enough, I guess, for the on deck that maybe someone tuned in and heard us call them out. Like you said, all that young talent. I already said this is a year where they can at least show us that young talent, is something. And to be the team that was actually is number one and one of the best baseball teams in the Cubs, it just shows that they are ready to compete. I'm a Cub fan, but I always tell you I love Chicago. Period. So to see them teams, I'm always gonna ride with the Cubs no matter what. But it is good to see that the Sox are not laying down and they actually playing some baseball out here. And with the home runs, my next question is what happens when the bat isn't hitting home runs? If you look at teams like, you remember how when the Cubs was going crazy and then all of a sudden we just couldn't hit, and we almost didn't win a World Series because of our hitting until we, like I said, until it came down to those DH games and things. So when you're not hitting them home runs and you relying on them home runs, it's kind of, bad. But it's good when it's happening. But when them home runs not falling, it's, then what's next?
See, and that's the only problem, too, because I think I could definitely point more recently to like 2 years ago, more in particular. I mean, when the Cubs, just in general, because, ever since like their World Series victory, you saw this bullpen little by little, ever since moving on from Aroldis Chapman, for example. You've seen how much, that team right there has tried to like out-hit their ways out of situations. And what ended up happening 2 years ago was that you not only lost to the division in a playoff tiebreaker with the Brewers, so that was gone. Then you had to drop down to the wild card and lost to the Rockies in that round. So it was a point right there where it's like, listen, it's like they still got offense, but when you start to overexert some energy right there, the bats went cold as a result. Saw guys like Javi Baez in particular starting to come down to earth just a little bit, for that year. And that's the only thing I get a little bit concerned with the White Sox right now. I think they're in a good spot right now, and I think the only thing is that favors them, if they're going to do a little bit better than the Cubs, or either ball club, you can make a case, is that they got the shortened season. So either way, I mean, you're on express right now. Whoever's rolling with this hot hand, I think could definitely be a team who could keep that going. So I just really gotta believe right now. I do feel that the Cubs are legitimately better slightly than the White Sox. I think they still play some better. They got still slightly better starting pitching than they do. I think that's the only thing the Cubs got working in their favor, despite that ugly loss last night.
Yeah, definitely they got better starting pitching. We're not going to win every game. So I think the Cubs have been showing that they are one of the better teams in the MLB. When you play against teams like that, if the White Sox want to make a name for themselves, remember, they're like the Clippers in Chicago right now when it comes to baseball. And I don't mean the Clippers now. I mean like the Clippers back in the day. It's really the Cubs town. So when you come up against Big Brother, you know, you got to whoop Big Brother. And that's what they did in order to keep their name in this conversation. So White Sox, hats off to you. I'm always Cubbies, but anytime Chicago can do it, I take it. But that's good. A lot of young talent out there. Go out every night, compete, and you'll see where it can get you.
Again, if you guys want to feel free and join in on the conversation, you could definitely do so. We could definitely be reached via the phone line if you guys wish to call in at any time. The number for today is 312-209-2232. You can also follow us on our social media right now. You can just simply follow us on the Facebook, ChicagolandSportsRadio.com page, where you can see us going live right now. And I just feel like right now with the Cubs, I think the only thing that's a little concerning right now, I mean, you still got some injuries layering on right now during these times. But I think the only thing I get a little concerned is the constant rotation of the starting pitching. Sometimes you'll be seeing some guys like a Tyler Chatwood, who I thought did decent starting off. I mean, by David Ross, the way he's juggling that starting pitching rotation, I think at some point that starts to wear on them a little bit. I mean, especially when you had to start off like the season with Quintana had to be in AAA because I think like a finger or thumb injury, whatever it was. I think that's the only concern I get with the Cubs for right now.
Yeah, the pitching that's been for years with us, but I really just think that right now that if anything with the Cubs, our pitching is good enough to win our division, and our bats are good enough to help us. So the Cub pitching always do better when they have a lead. Like if they can get them pitchers, them early leads, and let them pitchers, like I said earlier, if you can get a pitcher them 2-3 run leads in the first 3-4 innings, it allows that pitcher to loosen up and come with some different stuff. When you down or when you and that game close and everything, the pitcher becomes a little bit more predictable. The other side don't have to chase because now you're trying to catch up with them. So I believe that our bullpen is actually better than it's been the last few years. So like a loss here, it's not going to really hurt us, but I think it's more of a win for the White Sox than a loss for the Cubs.
Yeah, and at the same time too, I think just the only thing is with the White Sox, I mean, hey, let's put it this way. I mean, they're the ones who are talking it, they're trying to back it up. I still believe for them, I think they'll be more beneficial if they can just win the division. I mean, if you look at their franchise history, I mean, they're looking at like doing a dubious task of trying to win it all with doing it as a wild card, which has never happened in the White Sox franchise history. Let alone they never made the playoffs as a wild card. But they're only a game back right now. And the Twins, I mean, that's the team who's like the lead dog in the division. But, I mean, that's the only thing I think for right now. How likely do you think what's going to happen for the White Sox if they get back to the playoffs? Do we finally see them crack open the wild card, or do they snag the division late in the season?
I think this definitely is going to be the Twins division, but the Twins don't slip up. And if the Twins ever let their guard down and think, oh, it's just the White Sox, then you may find them, taking it. But if I'm a betting man, I'm gonna take the Twins. But I think the White Sox can make a good run for a wild card, in the playoffs. So I'm definitely will see them And I can say I might be able to see both Chicago teams in the playoffs this year, even though it's a weird pandemic year. But hey, I take it, and they can grow off that. But I definitely see the Twins holding on to that, and the Sox taking that wild card.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, like I said, we already mentioned that the White Sox, even Paul Sullivan from the Chicago Tribune, I mean, they lead the American League in home runs, second most in the majors. And plus, I mean, you look at everything else too. I mean, their batting average, number one in the American League, third overall in the league. And two, I mean, another thing too, some more impressive numbers. I mean, if you look at, I mean, their slugging percentage, 475. That's usually a decent number right there. And their on base plus slugging is just close to like 800. I mean, so for right now, I mean, they're making some big head waves right now with the bats. And I mean, one other thing too, now when you look at the pitching side of it, I mean, they're right there neck and neck with the Cubs right now. I mean, shoot, I mean, even the ERA is slightly better than the Cubs. I mean, 3.84 to the Cubs, 4.42. But what I do believe with the Cubs, where they do have the edge in that, I just think their quality win-loss percentage right now, I just feel like the Cubs right now, they got some more expendable guys they could just throw around in the rotation. I mean, you got Kyle Hendricks, who's been coming back to form this year. I mean, you have Darvish finally starting to get a little bit more acclimated finally to his surroundings at Wrigley Field despite the pandemic. So those are some good signs I'd be looking at if I'm a Cubs player. I mean, it just almost seems like it's how fitting is it for like the White Sox? It always seems to come back whenever they make a playoff run. It's usually Kersey taking care of their AL Central division.
Yeah, like I said, we got some good baseball coming. I was a little nervous with it. I think the Cubs are gonna, like I said, I had them early when all the analysts had them down. I think the Cubs do. I think we had the White Sox down, and now they coming up. So I'm excited now for baseball because now I can turn my TV on and know that I should be seeing two of my Chicago teams making this run. Do you see the White Sox sneaking into a playoff spot?
Say that again.
Do you see the White Sox sneaking in for a playoff spot?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel so, especially when you got like 16-team playoff expansion. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, for right now, I mean, I think they'll probably be towards the tail end, possibly. I mean, if you look at it right now, I mean, if we look at the current standings where the Sox fall in, I mean, they are sixth overall in the American League. And the other two teams that are breathing down their back right now, I mean, for the White Sox, I mean, you got at least for right now a 3.5 game lead on the Baltimore Orioles, who are probably like the last team that's looking on the outside in. I mean, other than that, I mean, you're still a game over the Astros and about 2.5 or a game and a half over the Blue Jays. So don't get me wrong. I think it's going to depend on the division. I think the division is going to be the key. Where they line up over there, that's going to probably determine their fate for right now. And when we look at it, too, I mean, the only thing is with the White Sox, they need to start playing better at home. I mean, they're doing better on the road, but they're a game under 500 at home. That's the only thing that may trip themselves up. They cannot get that corrected.
Yeah, with it not being no fans, and I'm watching that through a lot of sports, especially basketball, it's kind of weird, I guess you can say. And I don't know what it is, but it's more of a neutral playing site. I heard baseball is trying to get some fans in there next month. But I just think that without the fans, it's nearly not home field. It's kind of you just like going around to different parks and playing basketball or like playing baseball. Like it's not really like it don't have that home feeling. So I just think like a lot of teams need to, like just get used to just playing regular. Like understand that every game is a away game or home. Every game is a away game because it doesn't feel like home. Of course, they need to win more, But when you don't have them fans, that crowd noise, them people that get into you, that yelling at the pitcher, that's throwing the pitcher off, then every game, you know, it doesn't feel like a away game, you know, when I can step into the mound and just pitch regular, when I don't have them fans heckling me, when I don't have that. So, you know, I just think they just need to just play, whether it's away or whether it's home. You just go out there and just get the W, because right now, every game is an away game.
They have to. Let's see it.